All right, so this past weekend, I was at a friend's house. She's a senior. She goes to Troy High School, which is one of the top schools in the nation, ranked second in Orange County. And that school has some of the textbooks we're just seeing now for the first time. They had it freshman year, so they've been there. That school makes sure that their students go to the private schools, go to the Ivy League schools. She has a best friend, childhood friend since kindergarten, goes to Sonora High School, completely different school with lower standards, I'm sure. And she needed to work on a senior project, a paper. She doesn't have a computer at home, so she came over. And it boggled my mind because she sat down at the computer. This project was given to her in February, and it was due Monday, yesterday. She decided to work on it over the weekend, last minute, an entire project that's supposed to be done over a semester. And she didn't know what MLA format was. She didn't know what it meant, how to do it. Her spelling was horrendous in most cases, grammatical errors, sentence structuring, didn't know. She didn't know how to cite her sources, didn't know how to make a works cited page. And I thought, my God, how come her school isn't helping her with that? Why isn't it doing anything? And I thought maybe it's just her, and that's her fault. She has a 3.3 GPA average, and she doesn't know how to write a paper. My friend that goes to Troy has a 3.5 and has tried 15 times harder than her because of all the advanced placement classes that they offer there. This brings me to education, general education, and how it is needed. We use education as a tool to better ourselves in the world, the real world, for a job in the future. Now, you can't just go to any college and apply and then that's it. You have to compete against thousands of other students. And then once you get into that school, you have to keep going further, overachieving. Make sure you keep your GPA up, or else you get kicked out. Now, the question that comes to mind here is general education really worth it, or is it a waste of time? My answer to you is general education is definitely needed, despite whether or not we believe that it's not going to help us and we're better than that. So today, I'm going to share with you some statistical data that shows that going a few steps further in general education can actually improve your chances of succeeding in college. I will show you the international students' view on education and the American kids' view on education. And then I will myself give you a personal testament as to being a college student myself and actually reflecting over the information that I discovered. So first off, studies have shown that across the United States, high school students aren't ready for college. California, a state drowned in a budget crisis, is one of the more heavily hit states, and show a majority of students not at college-ready levels. The National Center for Public Policy and Higher Education found that around 367,000 students in California were tested in math and English. Only 84,000 of those were actually ready for college. 16% of high school juniors were only proficient in English, and 5% only proficient in math at a college level. Now, according to the California Department of Education, the requirements for math to graduate is 2 years minimum, at least Algebra 1. Now that's kind of funky because Cal State is 3 years minimum, with at least Algebra 1, Intermediate Algebra, and Geometry. And UCs are 4 years. So how is it that high schools don't live up to those standards if that's the next step? A similar study was done in North Dakota by the National Center for Public Education and Higher, and showed that 70% of their high school students were ready for college in English and math. Now, their standards are the same caliber as the Cal States and the UCs out here. And they showed that by adding to their core classes, courses such as trigonometry, calculus, chemistry, and biology, they actually had a 65% more likelihood of succeeding in college, rather than the 25% of not going further in general education. So that's a huge step. That's a huge statistic there, and it shows that just taking a few extra steps can actually help you succeed in college. Now I'm going to be going on to the Americans' view and the international students' view on education. Now, I'm sure all of us agree that education is a way to better ourselves, to help us in the future. And international students probably see that the same way. But I feel that international students have the hunger that we lack. They want to go to school. They want to do better. They want to make something out of themselves. Whereas we want to do that, but then it's like, oh, we see the test. Nah, test next week, we'll study later. We don't take initiative. Okay, sorry. A study at UMass surveyed students and their beliefs on what general education means to them. Over 60% agreed that general education is indeed a valuable aspect in their life. However, 60% also agreed that they didn't see any relevance in taking general education courses for their major. A new documentary came out last year, entitled Waiting for Superman. The director, David Guggenheim, shows how America is a failing educational system. American students rank 25th in math and 21st in science. Almost 20 to 34% of students in America are college ready. They rank themselves above foreign students because of their confidence. However, their test scores are low, whereas foreign students, they don't feel confident, but their test scores are high. So is it that we feel so confident in our abilities that we just don't think general education is worth it? I myself, as a college student, my experiences vary from time to time. There have been classes I've taken where I thought, why do I have to take this? I'm a business major. Why should I have to take a science class? I had to take a biology class, and I did the very minimum to pass that class. And researching this and watching the documentary, Waiting for Superman, made me feel embarrassed that I wasn't taking full advantage of the opportunities that I have here. That I wasn't striving better. And what do I know? Somebody that doesn't have a degree thinking that a counselor's telling me to take something and I don't think that I need to take it. After doing all of this, I realized I need to just shut up and do what needs to be done, whatever the professional tells me to do. So in conclusion, general education is different all around the world. The bar is raised high for those that want to succeed. If states such as California don't prepare their high school students for college, then wouldn't it make sense to have to go through general education? If they don't know the basics, all hopes of making it into top-tier schools will be out of reach. We are most confident in our abilities, but can't even perform at the plate. I'd rather let professionals tell me what to do and what's in my best interest. I can only imagine how horrible it would feel if I got a job in the future, knowing that general education may have further improved my abilities. So in conclusion, we've gone over how taking a few steps further in general education can actually drastically improve your success in college. I've showed you how us American kids view education as opposed to international kids, and they perform higher than us. And also, as all college students, I'm sure with my personal experience, you can all relate to it. So please take advantage of general education, even though it seems like it's not your cup of tea. It'll get you through life. Thank you.
So Nadia, what did you think?
Overall, it was good speech on general ed and how it is needed. He had eye contact with us. Felt like he was prepared and organized.
All right. Well, we'll get to some of the things that you just mentioned in a second. Let's talk about content issues. You got a lot of statistical data that you're citing, and you're pretty good once you get involved in it. At the beginning, it's as studies say, but then later on, I thought you did a pretty good job citing particular information about what those studies found. Test results, for instance, in comparison. It does get to be a little overwhelming at times with the number of statistics that you're throwing out. I think you could use a couple of examples similar to the ones that you used in your attention device as illustrations of the importance of different kinds of need for the general ed. You mentioned, for instance, the class that you took on science, and if you had an example of where that was applicable, or a story of somebody who was in a different field and needed access to that sort of information, or just a basic understanding of it, or how foreign students, for instance, utilize that information more effectively, I think that would have